Hey, customers, welcome back for another episode of Special Screening. Today we're going to be covering Hook. And today's guest is Nick Paul, world traveling magician. You may know him from his work on Magic for Humans on Netflix, his appearances on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and working behind the scenes as a magic consultant for The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. How you doing, Nick?
Yay, I'm good. I was trying to get my audio applause entrance, but I lost the button.
Oh, man.
Hang
Ready?
on.
I
I
think we
want to
need one
do
of
this
those.
now.
Yeah, we need a soundboard, but
Yeah,
we're worried about what Luis can do with such a tool.
very true.
It is nice. I have it for virtual shows where you're just like you hit the button when nobody claps, so you don't feel alone. But now I can find the
Nice.
button.
That's all good. So this week we're going to be talking about Hook. That's the movie you had picked out for us to kind of get into. Is there a specific reason why you picked this movie? Is there something about it that really pulls you in?
I think there's a nostalgia factor to it. It's almost like a Goonies type thing.
Hmm.
I'm a product of the 90s, millennial, so this was like one of those movies that you first saw as a kid and really gravitated towards. And I think it's kind of one of those underrated ones from Steven Spielberg. I know it sat on his shelf for a while before they produced it. The
Hmm.
script was written, and then it took a while to get this thing made. But such a fan, like as a magician, I'm such a fan of like practical effects too. And this
Hmm.
was such a time, obviously before large use of CGI, but there's such a beautiful use of practical, just like right there in that, like
Yeah.
the smoke hitting his face. It's so
Hmm.
theatrical and so like almost like you're watching a play, and the use of lighting and whatnot. It's like stuff is backlit and things. It's just I don't know that there's a lot of fun elements to this, and I think Robin Williams does like a. It really shows off how good of an actor he is because he's such a dick at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. He's probably like the worst dad.
I
Like one of
know
the
he's
worst.
like Just like, why
Uh,
why do you need to, take these phone calls in London? Why are you even in London? What's going on? But and then
yeah.
this guy who played, Toodles, oh my god, like, brilliant.
Yeah. Like this scene alone, what they're showing right now is like, God dang, like he kills it in that part.
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked this movie. I haven't watched it in a very long time, almost like forgot about it even. And it was like, oh man, this movie's great. So,
It's been
um,
a while too. I actually did it in high school. I was in forensics, which was like competitive theater where you take like do 15-minute mini plays and
mhm.
compete in high school. You perform in like gymnasiums and like classrooms on the weekends, and we took Hook and did it in like a 15-minute version of the show, and I played Robin Williams, and it was fun. It was one of my favorite high school memories. So, there's a fondness for this movie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely watched it when I was a kid, and I talked to my father about it and was like, "Hey, I'm interviewing Nick Paul this week, and we're talking about Hook." He's like, "I know that movie by heart now. I've seen it so
Yeah.
many times," and it's just like, "Yeah, I bet," because it is just such a classic, and
Mhm.
Hollywood's had such a hard time kind of copying, making another great Peter Pan movie. You know?
Yeah, I mean, they have one coming out. Jim Gaffigan is playing Smee, and I forget who's playing Hook. Disney just did it, but yeah, the one that came
Hmm.
out a few years ago, was okay. It was just I think too much CGI,
Yeah.
and just going back to the point of everything looks very practical and handmade, and you feel like you're actually kind of in Neverland. And there's
Hmm.
something to be said about that for a fantasy type movie. It's like I know Avatar is real big right now, but for me, watching the behind the scenes footage of making of Avatar is the most depressive thing in the world.
Yeah.
At least as
Just
like a somewhat actor performer person, it's just like, oh my god, how do you even act in this? How do you perform in this
mhm.
setting? It's weird.
Well, just all that green screen and having to work with that constantly has got to be. I mean, that's isn't that the reason Ian McKellen kind of quit acting for a little while, doing those
Mm.
Hobbit movies and just being by himself? He was just like, I can't do this anymore. It's
Yeah,
killing
you didn't
me.
you didn't get into this to stare at a tennis ball.
Yeah,
You got into it to react and, respond to another person and,
yeah,
develop emotional connections.
yeah. Um, so, do you have a favorite scene that really sticks out in your mind from this movie?
I mean, it's just such a powerful scene when, you can fly, you can fight, you can crow, that moment when
Hmm.
he kinda passes on the sword. I get goosebumps thinking about that one. That's just such a powerful moment, and I don't know if that's just nostalgia based or if that's just a really great scene. I think it's a really great scene, just the way the music builds and the way they, this character, you know, Rob Williams discovers his like inner child and then remembers everything, and then Rufio not being, like the enemy has become the friend moment.
Hmm.
That's it's just a powerful, great scene.
Yeah, I always remember the Rufio scene where all the kids are chanting and he comes in and he's doing all like the tricks on the skateboard and all that. It's just that always stuck out with me when I was a kid and still does now, I think. But
Yeah.
you're right. You're right about how that scene is quite powerful when he starts actually getting his memories back and knows how to do everything again. And like you said, the enemy to friend aspect going there. It's great.
Yeah.
That whole sequence is pretty fantastic. I also think Julia Roberts does a great job as Tinkerbell. I feel like that doesn't get talked about enough for this. She
Oh,
does
she
pretty
was
good.
great, but if you
Yeah.
look on the IMDb, fun fact, her
Mhm.
nickname on set was Tinker Hell because she was
Oh
difficult
yeah.
to work with.
That kind
Who
of
knows
doesn't
how true
surprise
that
me.
was, but
It wouldn't surprise me too much. This is right in her like getting into her peak era, if I remember
sure, yeah.
correctly.
And I
So
would assume, I mean, she was probably alone on a green screen set, not
mhm.
getting to interact with people. So, I mean, going back to what we were just talking about, this was
Yeah.
kind of the opposite of that. So I'm sure, especially at that time of
Mhm.
technology, it was not fun. So I'll give her
Yeah.
a pass on that one. But she was great.
Yeah, and I mean, Robin Williams casted as Peter Pan, or what is it, Peter Bannington at the beginning
Mhm.
is fantastic because if anybody can play an adult that's also a child, like childlike, it's Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Like,
I think he really shines in this for multiple reasons.
yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, my other favorite scene is when the mom is just sitting in the room. She closes towards the end, and then the kids come back and surprise her. Like that lady doesn't get enough credit for how good her acting is in that moment. Of just you see a lady who thought her kids were dead, and they
Yeah.
come back, and she reacts to that so beautifully. It's just a powerful piece of act. I think the overall arc of this, I mean, including Dustin Hoffman,
Hmm.
and I will give you my Captain Hook impression, which I've been doing since I was six in a second, is this it's just great acting across the board. I think it's just the basics of good theater of just everybody's reacting honestly and really committing to this stuff. It's a silly
Hmm.
fantasy movie about Peter Pan, but it's nobody's like winking at the camera at any point. It's all super committed, and it's just
Yeah.
which I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, everything is people. It's not saying that stuff people don't commit these days, but there's just I don't know something different about it. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they all play their roles quite earnestly. Like they are who they are. There's no, like you said, winking at the camera, like, "Hey, look at what we're doing," and trying to almost make a parody of it. They are these characters, the best of their abilities.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, Maggie Smith as Wendy, uh, couldn't help but laugh. She's been old for 30 years.
She's I
That's
know
all.
I was born in 87, so what is this, 92 when this came out?
Believe so.
So I was like, what, 5 or 6 at the time,
Mhm,
and yeah, she's ancient then, and I'm gonna be 36 this year.
mhm. Yeah,
You
she
just
looks.
look at that, she's like I think she's immortal. I think Maggie Smith
Yeah,
might be immortal, and nobody's talking about it.
I mean, she looks older in this than she does in the Harry Potter movies. It's just like,
She's the reverse of the picture of Dorian Gray, where, like,
yeah,
she's, like, just getting older
yeah,
constantly, but can live forever.
yeah. But she does a great job as Wendy. That's all very interesting as well. Changing that aspect of the story, and Peter coming back and finally like, well, damn, she's old now, and falling in
Mhm.
love with the granddaughter instead of her, and
Yeah, I mean, a little strange.
yeah.
That's a weird moment.
Well, that gets into the whole thing of, man, you've been alive for, you know,
Yeah.
a long time, and now you're falling for like a 13-year-old. It's getting into
Yeah,
the
yeah, he's really that's an interest I never thought of that. He's
yeah.
really what? The same age as her,
Hmm.
essentially, but he's now, yeah, dating a child. He's Leonardo DiCaprio,
Yeah.
basically. He's the second she gets older than 25.
Yeah.
He's done. No thanks.
That kind of thing always makes me think of Twilight with Edward. It's like, dude, you're like 170 and she's 17.
Yeah.
Isn't this
Pretty
kind
sure
of
this
weird?
is illegal, man.
This is
At
pretty
least
weird.
in some states, this is illegal. I don't know about Arkansas or Mississippi, but most other states, I don't think they're going to be okay with this.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really happy you picked this movie. I had a good time watching it again, and it was fun to kind of catch back up to it and get to see Robin Williams in something. I haven't watched him in anything in a long time now, and it was great. Our ranking system for movies on our channel is dope, nope, and I am 100% giving this a dope.
Okay.
If anybody listening hasn't seen Hook, you need to go check out Hook.
I wasn't
missing
sure
out.
what the levels of success were in those rating systems, but now that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Dope and I guess yes. Okay. I
Dope,
understand.
then nope. It just sounds better when you say dope, nope, and I in that order.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm so glad you picked this movie. Like I said, it was a fun time. I know Randy even had a good time watching it himself. So just to get into like you and your career a little bit, man. You've been a magician for how long now?
20 something years.
Okay.
A long time. It's documented in my shameless promotion. Nick Paul, magically introverted. Whoa, look at this.
Look at that.
Whoa, look at that. Wow, I got the buttons. Look
Perfect.
at that. Books are expensive, guys, so I need to sell. books. No, I've been doing magic for 20 something years. The elevator pitch is I'm a magician. My dad's a ventriloquist. My brother's a comedian. So we just found new and exciting ways to disappoint my mom. So that's my opening line. Nice. But sure, I just grew up in a performance family, and I've been doing it ever since high school. Yeah.
Well, growing up in a performance family, were you like pushed to be a performer as well, or they were kind of just you fell into it on your own?
Yeah, it's kind of natural. I wasn't really pushed. My dad definitely gave me you should have a fallback because I kind of got to see up front. It's called show business for a reason. It's like basically when you're on stage, that's the vacation. The rest is where the work comes in, and getting gigs and staying consistently busy and all that stuff. So I got to see up front as a kid just kind of what that took and the process of it all, and kind of opposite of most people. A lot of people come from families that have real jobs and are the weird ones for going into performing. So now it was a little bit more normal on my end to do that.
Yeah, your father was a clown and also a magician, is that correct?
He's a ventriloquist.
Oh, ventriloquist, excuse me.
Yeah, does a little bit of magic. His best friend is a clown, professional clown.
Got it.
It's very common to have a man in makeup dressed in full clown outfit at my house just hanging out.
Okay.
So that was normal for me.
Yeah, that's definitely an odd childhood.
Yes.
Normal. That's kind of fun though, for sure. So like at what age were you actually starting to get paying performances? Was it about 20 years ago is when you first started getting paying gigs?
I think the first paying gig was like in high school, maybe like freshman year of high school. And then I got like a gig I called a bunch of restaurants and got a gig doing tableside magic once a week. I think I got paid like $75 to do a couple hours of magic, and that's good. That's where I get my cut your teeth. Because restaurant magic is the worst. I have my buddy, John Armstrong. He has a line about strolling magic. He calls it creative hiding. You're at a corporate event and you get hired to that. You're just kind of like finding ways to go to the bathroom or hide behind the trees because it just goes on forever. And the people that want to see close-up magic, great. The people that don't want to see magic are just like, why are you bothering me? I'm trying to eat steak. Leave me alone.
Well, I mean, that even works at the Loft as well. I've definitely seen Bobby have to deal with that.
Yeah. And it's funny, like that's a magic venue. People come there to see magic, and still he kills it. Bobby's great over there. If you've never been to the Loft in Tahoe, that's where I perform with these guys. That's how I met Frankie. And Bobby kills it. He's just such a great sleight of hand magician and performer. So he's like one of those guys who really does a great job of inviting people in with magic, which is close-up magic can kind of be the opposite of that a lot of the times of like, hey, look at me, look at the thing I'm doing. So he does a great job.
Totally get you on that. I mean, it could be magic's one of those things, and even sometimes we get people that come to our restaurant that aren't there for the show at all, and they're just like, oh yeah, they do shows here as well. And then Bobby shows up and they're like, ah, shit.
Yeah. Darn it. I just want to enjoy this food.
Yeah.
It is weird. It's a very strange thing to be sitting at a table and someone just like comes up and is like, "All right, you're in a show now.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice."
Now you're a part of this and
Hmm.
you can't do anything.
Yeah. It's kind of like when a mariachi band comes up to your table at a Mexican restaurant. You're like, that first song was good, but you're still here.
Yeah.
How
You
long is
can
this
go
going to
now.
keep going for?
Yeah. You can go get moving now.
I really
So
just want to eat my steak tacos. That's all I really want to do.
so you worked on Magic for Humans for Netflix. How was that experience? What was it like working with Netflix? And were they really a part of production for you guys, or they just kind of come in and buy it at the end there, or what was it like?
Yeah, I was a consultant on it. I work with a bunch of great magic consultants and just
Hmm.
kind of helping build and develop magic for the show. So working a lot of, I have a brief cameo in it where I think I'm in episode 5 or something where I steal an old lady's purse and get arrested. But yeah, Netflix, it worked out where Netflix bought it from Justin, and it was produced by the same people that do Tim and Eric. It's their production company.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, so I can't absolutely productions. I couldn't remember the name
Yeah.
for a second. So yeah, they produced it and Netflix bought it from them, and yeah, it was fine.
Okay.
It's just like with Netflix type stuff, they with streaming, it's
Hmm.
often lower budget because they want a lot of content, but they don't pay as much. So
Hmm.
that was the only tricky part of really trying to. We had a great fellow magician by the name of Lisa who was really good at Lisa de la Vega, who was really good at like kind of keeping us on track and being like, okay, we can't spend more money. We can't, because there are a lot of, you build a big illusion that's like thousands of dollars for
Hmm.
literally 3 minutes in the show. And so you have to kind of pick and choose of like, okay, do we really want to levitate this person, or is it simpler just to do a card trick? Or, it's
Yeah.
a lot of decisions I wasn't making. I was going to Home Depot a lot and helping helping
Hmm.
much smarter people build stuff. But yeah, that was the only challenge. But there's a story in the book about when we were filming. One of the first things to go viral on the show was a thing, and everybody started doing it, which was pretty crazy. Of trying to make their kids think they're invisible, like that whole challenge that went on a few years ago.
Hmm.
So Justin and the writers came up with a different version of that, and we shot it. And there was a man that came out of the. We were shooting this at a park in L.A., Elysian Park, which is kind of near Dodger Stadium,
Hmm.
and a man came out of the woods with a giant 6-foot axe screaming. Like it was just right after we finished filming this, and he goes up to these $20,000 cameras and just smashes it, destroys it, and we all like jump in the van and go down the hill and escape. And it was so that was probably the most one of the most memorable things that happened in that show, because a lot of it is man on the street type stuff where you're trying to interact with people that
Hmm.
you're just meeting, or out in a very public setting. So like very little of it was, not a lot of it was like indoors and like a set or anything like that.
Yeah. You brought up the scene you're in where you like steal the purse, and then it's like you switch spots with the host of the show. Now I'm blanking on his name.
Oh,
um,
Justin.
yeah,
Yeah,
Justin.
it's his show. I should remember his name.
His show. Yeah, yeah.
What's his name
Justin.
again?
Yeah.
Justin
Uh,
Roman. Yeah, very good guy. Yeah, that was an interesting, scary day because we shot that a couple times. Basically, it's like a hidden camera type thing,
mhm,
and Justin steals the purse, and then we do a magical move, and we kind of swap places. Um, and uh, the first or second time we shot it, where I was stealing it to get some different coverage, a car pulls up and like the lady gets out, and she was almost about, actually maybe she did start chasing me, I think. And I kind of like got behind a fence and locked myself in. And she goes, "Oh yeah, I was about to tackle you. I'm a Marine." And
yes.
it was like, oh God, because it looks like for all intents and purposes that I was just a guy walking past. You couldn't see the cameras; they were all hidden. So it was
Yeah.
just a guy walking past and um, stole an old lady's purse. Very
So,
scary.
well, this goes back to these people are just trying to have dinner at a restaurant, and here you come, you're putting them in the middle of your show.
Yeah, yeah. One lady, the old lady was in on it. She was an
Yeah.
actress, but the other people had no clue any of this was happening. So it was, this was the first time I had done anything like this. I'm not a
Hmm.
big prank show guy, and a lot of the show isn't like this.
Hmm.
But it was, my heart was pounding. I was so scared getting beaten up by this Marine lady.
Yeah. So that kind of brings up a question here. So when you were doing it, did you have anybody who was just like, I do not want to be a part of this show, and like you had to reshoot stuff over and over, or
Yeah, a lot of times Justin would go up to people and it wouldn't work, or they didn't want to be a part of it. They didn't want to sign, because you do it and then you got to get someone's signature to get the approval that they can be on TV, and
Mhm.
sometimes that wouldn't happen. But a lot of times it would. I mean, what was great is they would sometimes, if they wanted like a specific type of person,
Mhm.
you would go on Craigslist. You wouldn't tell them it's a magic show. You'd say, hey, we're shooting a documentary series about this subject. We're looking for people. And they did one on conspiracy theories. So they wanted people that were really big on conspiracy theories for this particular trick, and brought them in that way. So that was a clever way of getting real people that didn't know it was a show. So you could still get honest reactions. So you didn't necessarily have to just go up to people on the street and just say, hey, do you want to see a magic trick? Because then it's really kind of a crapshoot. You don't know. So
Yeah,
it was a little bit more controlled in that way, which is great.
Okay, yeah, because if you just go up to anybody, you never know what you're gonna get. You could have
Mhm.
ended up with that guy who's gonna turn around and grab an axe and chase you down with your camera.
Exactly. I mean, it's Hollywood. It's anything can
Yeah.
happen. So
So since you've been performing for 20 years, I'm sure you have at this point have a favorite theater that you've worked at. Have you you think you got a favorite spot to perform
the
with?
Loft in Tahoe
Oh, we
at
don't have
Heavenly Village.
they're not sponsoring this. You don't have to
Oh,
plug
okay.
them.
Never mind.
It's okay.
Never mind. Forget it. Frankie's not giving you money, is he? Um, it's really, it's not even just a favorite spot. I mean, I enjoy working at the Castle for the most part when it's not drunken people. Castle can be hit or miss. It can be just the best crowds in the world, or it can be meh. But I do the Comedy Magic Club down in Hermosa Beach, and that's a cool spot because it's mainly headlining comedians. I've worked with Daryl, DL Hughley, Paul, what's his face, from Wing. I'm a whole bunch of comedians that I'm blanking on. Just famous people you would know and recognize and have seen. And so it's cool I love doing that because I'm the weirdo who's brought in to do magic tricks and get to hang with these cool people. And it's always great audiences. And it's, I love performing in venues like that are not really designed just for magic sometimes, but other times it's great to do a magic theater because people show up expecting to see a magic show, which can also be a challenge if you're not in that type of setting, because people, it's similar to the walk around magic. People are like, what's going on right now? Who's this guy? But Comedy Magic Club, Magic Castle, just and any venue with where the audience is good,
where a good
is
crowd
great.
is at. Well, you said the Magic Castle can be hit or miss on the audience, which is kind of interesting because you have to be invited there and you know what you're getting yourself into. But I guess people do kind of drink there a lot, right?
Yeah. By the 10 o'clock, sometimes I'll do what's known as the late parlor shows, because we have a parlor theater that's similar to the theater in Tahoe, similar size, and it starts at either 7:15, 8:15, 9:15, or there's another magician that takes over 10:15, 11:15, and 12:30 a.m. And when I do those can get rough, very sloshed, and you can't really do intelligent cerebral magic in those settings because people are just kind of gone. So but it's a good challenge. It's always good to try to like win over any audience, but sometimes you just get to a point of like, all right, well, I'm gonna be done in 20 minutes, so let's just power through.
Yeah, just try to get through it. I mean, even with our theater here, I've definitely seen my fair share of hecklers because I only get to go when it's a tiny crowd, and it seems like when there's only a tiny crowd, they're a little bit more brave, versus when it's a
Because
sold
they
out
don't.
show.
Yeah, and it's like, I just did a theater in Santa Monica. We had not small crowd, but we had a smaller crowd on Friday, and then yesterday we did a show and it was sold out. It was like 150 people in there. That's like the max capacity of this theater. And just the difference in just the mentality. The second people sit down and look around and they're like, oh, this theater's not filled. Oh, it must not be very good. That just affects the audience from the very beginning of the show. So you're immediately fighting that. And then, people they feel like they're just hanging out with their friends. So they feel like they can shout out things or heckle or say, because to them, it's not a show anymore. It's just, oh, we're watching this guy, as opposed to like this thing, when it's full, oh, we bought a ticket for this experience. It's like going to a Broadway show or a rock concert. We planned to do this, and that just does something different with your expectations of what this thing is going to be.
Yeah, with the bigger the crowd, the more it feels like a true event that you're attending, and
Yeah.
you're not trying to make yourself a part of it. It's just, I'm going to watch this and enjoy it.
Yeah, and it's easier to shut down hecklers in those moments too, because a Steve Martin technique that he talks about in his book. If you're interested in performing, first buy my book, Magically Interviewed and Introverted. But Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up, is great. He talks about when people would either be talking or heckling, he'd just get really quiet, just keep doing his act like this, and he would wait for the audience to kind of shut them down, because when the audience shuts them down, they're on your side. But it's tricky when you call out a heckler, because I've failed at it many times, because like you can call out something that someone's doing in the front row that's really annoying to you. Maybe they're making a noise, or I guess I remember at Tahoe one time they brought their infant and was just patting the infant's back for the whole 70-minute show. And I'm just like, I can't call this out because I'm the only one that's really hearing this, because they're in the front row. So you really have to be careful, because then the audience can kind of turn on you a little bit. So,
well, yeah, if you yell at the person with their infant, they're gonna just think you're yelling at a baby, and that'll turn the whole crowd against you.
When in reality, it's like, why did you like Tahoe? It's not a cheap ticket. I mean, it's not expensive, but it's not a cheap. You're not going to the movies. You're dropping a good chunk of change. It's like why couldn't you afford a babysitter?
But, well, it's because most of them are on vacation. Just like they don't know where to get a babysitter.
Yeah, like we don't know. We're going to see the magic show tonight, so we'll bring the infant.
I will tell you, since the last time you've been in town, though, there has been a couple changes for our theater. Now that baby needs to buy a ticket. So
nice.
So that kind of helps deter them a little bit more.
That's a great. Yeah, because it's not Disneyland. Like they're not going there, and because I think it's like 2 and under. I think you can get into Disneyland for free with an infant. But yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we've had to check. We used to be like that, and now it was like, no, we need to start fixing this, because sometimes the parents don't take care of the children the way they should, like walk them outside when they're crying, and it's like, there's other people in here.
Yeah, they don't realize like they're just ruining the experience for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the baby's probably got to be the worst heckler to deal with, because you can't really
children are worse. I talk about this all the time. Children are worse than drunks, because if a kid's talking to you during the show, you try to shut them down politely or make a joke, and then they keep talking. Like, it's hard. Like with a drunk, it's very obvious that they're drunk and being a jerk. But with a kid, the kid's just talking, and kid hasn't developed empathy yet or awareness. So you can really come off as a bully if you don't handle it correctly.
Yeah, if you go after the kid just wrong, that whole crowd can turn on you, and that changes every aspect of the whole show. And I totally get you on that. So you also did it that we watched your a shot on Penn and Teller's Fool Us.
We just did that a couple weeks ago. It was fun. It was it's one of those things I've been trying to do for like 7 years, and finally last year we booked it. And when we were shooting it, some things went wrong last minute, and I there's a story about it in the book as well. And like Rascal was supposed to run out in his little costume, and we got there, we did a rehearsal, and he just froze, because it was a big stage. It was very slippery. We had just done it a few weeks prior, like literally 25 times that week at the castle. He ran out. People went crazy. It was fine. But we got there, and he just literally froze in the wing, and he's like, I'm not moving. So that's why my wife Kristen comes out and carries him. But the bummer that was with her coming out, I think it makes people think we're in cahoots somehow, because like, oh, he has a helper. But if Rascal was just to run out on his own, I think the trick would have been a little bit stronger. But it is what it is. It's like it's not live TV, but it's kind of shot almost live to tape basically. So it's like you got 30 minutes to get the shot, because they got another act that they got to tape. So you make a decision in real time, and but it came out fine. I thought it worked for the most part. There's going back, because I've seen it so many times now, going back, I'm like, oh, I would have changed this, or would have done this. But like the biggest mistake I made, which I'm seeing in the YouTube comments, is at the very end when I open up the treat and it says George, which was the name that Allison gave me at the beginning. I forgot to remind them that, Allison, you had free choice of what that name was. I didn't tell you that name. And a lot of my one buddy, Taylor Hughes, he's like, I think you fooled them. I don't think they realized that you fooled them. I'm like, I don't know. But looking back now, I go, I think I kind of did. Because my friend Simon was on it a couple of years ago. He's like, they go, okay, yeah, we know what you did. It's this classic trick. Great. Bye-bye. And then Teller was backstage talking to the prop guy he did a trick with poker chips. He's talking to the prop guy and he goes, yeah, those poker chips you made for Simon, those were gimmick. What was the gimmick on that? And he goes, there was no gimmick. He's like, no, what was the gimmick in the poker chip? He's like, there's no gimmick. He just did it with real poker chips. And Teller goes, oh. So Simon gets word of this, emails him and gets confirmation. Yeah, you did fool us. Sorry. So they brought him on a year later as like a little bit of a surprise and surprised him with a trophy, basically saying, hey, you did fool us a year later. So he's the only one in like Fool Us history to do that, which is a cool story. So who knows?
Okay.
Maybe I'm part of me wants to, I do have Teller's email. So a part of me wants to email him and go, hey, rewatch this and let me know what you're thinking.
Maybe you'll be number 2 to get called back on
maybe,
there and get the Fool Us trophy. Well, Nick, want to get you out of here. I know you have a lot of plans today. If you want to plug your book again, you're more than welcome to hit the button and get that going.
Let's do it right here. nickpaulbook.com. It's on Audible, Kindle, paperback. And I just discovered today, I didn't even realize this. It's also, if you have an iPhone and go to the Books app, the audiobook is on there too. I just dropped the audiobook, which was me in this room for like 2 months talking to myself, reading.
Just reading it. Nice. So when this episode drops, it's going to be in a couple weeks. If you want to plug where you're going to be performing or anything like that.
I will be in San Antonio the second week at my buddy's magic theater called the Magician's Agency. That's March 10th through 12th. And then I'll be in Erie, PA at Keller's Comedy Theater, March 24th through 26th. Come see a magic show, guys. You got to get out of your house. You got to do something. Netflix. I mean, we talk about movies is great, but it's different in real life. But I'm introverted, so I understand. So I like hiding.
I've seen your show in Tahoe, and it was a great time. Everybody had a really good time there.
And I took your note too. You gave me a great note of like, you need to do, I think you were the one that told me of, you need to do the grandpa trick at the end. And ever since I changed that, it's like just game changer for the show. So
really,
you give
cool.
Good notes. I appreciate it.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Well, Nick, thanks for coming on to an episode of Special Screening. Hopefully we can have you on again sometime, and good luck with all your shows going forward.
Thank you, buddy. Bye-bye.
Bye, customers. Thanks for coming to the store. Hey, customers, we'd like to thank Nick Paul for attending this special screening of Hook, and we thank you for watching. Look out for the next episode with David Goldrake, where we'll be talking Beauty and the Beast and Bram Stoker's Dracula. And now enjoy Nick's trick, Balloon Head, performed with Fire Leopard at Scott Neary's Booby Trap.